Welcome to this episode of the Sports Detective Podcast Show. My name is James Williams, and today the Oklahoma Sooners suck at football. What are we talking about? Well, in case you guys haven't been following the Oklahoma Sooners so far this football season, they are off to a less than good start to their play in the SEC. They are 4-3 overall. They are 1-3 in SEC play so far. And I am here to tell you guys that these struggles for Oklahoma so far, this isn't a season from hell. This isn't just some sort of fluke right now. No, 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 no. Oklahoma is set up to be struggling in the SEC for the foreseeable future. I was planning on doing a video talking about Oklahoma and their struggles so far this season and their prospects going ahead. I was planning on doing that earlier in the day. I'm recording this Sunday evening. Oklahoma has since fired their offensive coordinator, Seth Littrell, which is a kind of a interesting decision here from Oklahoma, because when you were looking at this Oklahoma Sooners team and you were looking at their offense right now, it is one of the worst units in the country. They are 107th in scoring. They're last in the SEC in rushing yards, yards per play, third down efficiency, and they're second in all of the FBS in sacks given up. In the South Carolina game this past weekend, Oklahoma, through their first 9 snaps, had 3 turnovers, 1 fumble recovery that was returned for a touchdown, 1 pick-six, and only 14 yards of total offense. This offense is absolutely abysmal. It has been playing absolutely terribly, and there's a lot of reasons for that. One is obviously the fact that you have 2 young, unproven quarterbacks that are still trying to learn the position. You had past tense, a first year offensive coordinator implementing his new offensive system, which was different from the Jeff Levy system that Oklahoma had a lot of success with a year previously. And the bigger reason here for Oklahoma's lack of success so far on the offensive side of the ball this season is that their players, when they are going into these SEC games, are just completely overmatched. We already commented on the quarterback situation. If you look at their offensive line is absolutely terrible. There are so many holes on that O line, it looks like Swiss cheese. Uh, that with unexperienced quarterback play and your top 5 wide receivers being injured, this is a very much problem sign for Oklahoma. And I'm here to tell you guys right now that I don't think this is something that Oklahoma can simply just go into an offseason and you can't get quality offensive linemen in the transfer portal. That is not a thing that happens. There has to be, you either have to somehow completely come over the top and do some crazy NIL spending, or there might have to be some sort of coach turnover somewhere and you can get lucky and you can go after other teams offensive linemen elsewhere. But fixing your problems on the offensive line through the transfer portal is incredibly unlikely. If you look at, and these problems go back all the way to recruiting. If you go back to 2001, 2022, those 2 recruiting classes for Oklahoma, they only had 4 offensive linemen that were recruited in those cycles. Now, I know one of those cycles was a Lincoln Riley cycle, but only 4 offensive linemen recruited in a 2-year period. Now they did improve in the years 2023 and 2024. They recruited, I believe, 9 offensive linemen those 2 years under Venables. But those guys aren't going to be impact players for probably another year or two for the most part. Now, maybe there might be 1 or 2 of them can come in and play pretty well. But right now, the offensive line struggles aren't going to get much better. And then you also have this situation here where you're starting Jackson Arnold. You're fine with Dylan Gabriel going off to Oregon because you got Jackson Arnold. Then he struggles a lot early. All the Oklahoma people I'm listening to are saying, hey, he's doing all of these terrible decisions in the RPOs. Oklahoma can't run RPOs because Jackson Arnold doesn't know how to do well with those. He doesn't do well under pressure. Then they pull in Michael Hawkins, and then they have this decision of like, hey, do we keep Michael Hawkins in? Do we burn Jackson Arnold's red shirt? They ended up burning his red shirt against the game against South Carolina. And now you have the situation here where I don't think you can properly evaluate either one of these quarterbacks because you're having offensive coordinator turnover, you're having poor offensive line play, and then you don't have any offensive weapons whatsoever, and you guys can't run the ball. So how do you know if either of these guys are actually good or not? I think they've just been put into absolutely, terrible circumstances for their development so far. And then you also have this problem here too, is the fact that you've been kind of flip flopping both of them in and out. Not both of them are going to stay. One or both might actually even transfer. Probably one of them is. I think one of them will stay. But again, too, what happens if one of them is better than the other one and the better one transfers? You're in a situation here with Oklahoma where this is a thing I was talking about with Oklahoma before the preseason, where you are in the SEC now. You aren't in the Big 12 now. You have a bunch of other teams in this same conference as you that want to win as much as you. They want to win at the same level that you do, and they have the money, they have the resources to compete with you and outspend you in other areas that other Big 12 teams, when you were in the Big 12, could not do. Okay, you're in the SEC now, and it's very, very easy to fall down that SEC totem pole. It is very easy to, fall down from 3 to 10. There's a lot of good teams in the SEC. There's a lot of good teams. You can't get away with, as many roster weaknesses as you have in the past, right? Those Lincoln Riley teams might not have been as successful in the SEC as they were in the Big 12. And now I'm looking at the person that is the head of the snake of this Oklahoma football situation right now, and that is Brent Venables. Obviously, every Oklahoma fans would disagree with me, but this is the classic Seth Luttrell panic fire, where it's like, hey, things are going really bad now. We just laid out some of those bad offensive numbers. They've only scored 12 points in the last 2 weeks. Somebody had to get blamed here, but this is a classic SEC panic firing. And usually when offensive coordinators get fired in the middle of the season, that head coach doesn't necessarily have a good tenure. It's not like, oh, things are all, going to be sunshine and rainbows after this firing, and next year Oklahoma's offense will be absolutely one of the best in the country or an average level in the SEC. I think these are problems that have long-term ramifications. And if you're Oklahoma right now, Brent Venables, buyout. We're on buyout watch right now with some of these coaches in college football right now. It's between 44 and 45 million. It's like, I think if you round it up, it's like 45 million. You guys gave him an extension after a 10-2 year 2. I got some bad news for you guys, for Oklahoma fans, and maybe you guys are on the same page with me here, but I'm looking at Oklahoma's schedule the rest of this year. I don't think Oklahoma's going to a bowl. I do not think Oklahoma is going to a bowl. If you look at the rest of their schedule, they got at Ole Miss this week. Ole Miss is better than you. You play Maine, that should be a win. At Missouri, or at Alabama, or excuse me, home against Alabama, and then at LSU. So you have 3 ranked road games to end the year, and then you have Alabama at home, Maine on the road. Alabama is going to be fighting for their college football playoff lives for the rest of the season. So are all those other ranked teams that you're playing. All those other teams are going to be able to take advantage of your weaknesses. If you guys don't have any wide receivers and your offensive line's still terrible, changing your offensive coordinator isn't going to do much. It ain't going to do much. So I'm telling you, Oklahoma Sooners, I think you guys are missing a bowl this year, which is absolutely crazy to say. And I don't see much solutions in the future. And if you aren't sure about Brent Venables, the time that this offensive line, I think, can actually be good, you guys might have already made your decision to move off of him, because things are kind of not going in the right direction right now for Oklahoma. So I'm just looking around the SEC. I just see a lot of other programs in better situations for the next few years than Oklahoma is right now. And this offense is an absolute problem. I saw some other stats saying that this Oklahoma offense is worse than the worst, statistically, than the worst Lincoln Riley defense. That is how bad this Oklahoma offense is playing. And yeah, I don't think you're making a bowl. So that's going to do it for this video here today. Oklahoma fans, let me know what you think in the comments. I know some of the stuff you guys aren't going to like. that's fine. Maybe you guys should subscribe, follow my work, and if things do turn around for Oklahoma, you guys can throw it in my face. So please make sure if you like this video, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. That is the number one thing that you can do to help support this show, and it costs you absolutely $0. Feel free to check out the rest of the Sports Detective podcast channel page to find other videos that you may enjoy. We talk college, we talk NFL, we're getting into basketball season in the next few weeks here, so we're going to be covering all of that. We talk about a bunch of sports stories that we find interesting here, so make sure you please subscribe, help support the show, and thank you very much for watching. We'll talk to you next time.